everyone, I'm Melody. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we visit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Government to beef up measures and plans to prevent nationwide spread through workers' return. The Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population announced 21 businesses can resume operation in line with health directives. MoHS receives medical supplies from China Foundation. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the feature local news from this week. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi has invited interested persons to join in the homemade cotton mask competition on her Facebook page. She wrote that she was planning to organize a homemade cotton mask competition. Interested participants were permitted to make one mask or more. The mask was to be self-made either by hand or by sewing machine, and that participants were free to choose any design they liked. She further said that she was going to make a mask herself and that she will post a picture of herself wearing that mask on her Facebook page on 13th of May. The competitors should post the pictures of their mask in the comment section of her Facebook page. Prizes would be presented to 3 participants who received the most like from the people during the 13th and 15th May. In choosing the winners, whether the masks were made in a hygienic way or not would also be considered. She said all were urged to participate happily in the competition by making beautiful handmade cotton masks. The Embassy of Russian Federation contributed cash donation to Myanmar's National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 on Thursday. The donation ceremony was held at the meeting hall of the Department of Medical Research headquarters in Dagon Township, Yangon. Russian ambassador to Myanmar, Dr. Nikolay Litsopadov, explained a donation of 2.2 million jets from the families of his mission, and Director General of Department of Medical Research Professor Dr. Zaw Danton expressed thanks before returning an honorary certificate for the donation. And I believe it's time now for our first report. State Councillor hosted a discussion with the Chief Ministers of Gayan State, the Insein region, and Mon State on COVID-19, and it was broadcast live on social media on Tuesday. State Councillor calls on regional chief ministers to prevent nationwide spread through workers' return via border gates. Akajo has details.
State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi called on the chief ministers from Gayan State, the Insein region, and Mon State to work together in the preventive measures against the spread of the COVID-19 infection to the entire country. State Councillor hosted a discussion with the chief ministers on COVID-19. First, State Councillor discussed with the Chief Minister of the Gayan State on the return of Myanmar workers from Thailand. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi praised Thailand's measures in managing the Myanmar workers returning to Myanmar from Thailand at border gates.
I would like to discuss the return of Myanmar workers from Thailand with the Chief Minister of Gayan State. We expect the return of about 150,000 workers. I understand that the inflow of the returnees is not that in a rush for the time being. It is because of the rules and regulations of the Thai government. So it's good for Myanmar since the return does not come in bulk. Thus, we have time to get ready, test, and relocate batch by batch. So I understand cooperation with Thailand is good.
Majority of the Myanmar workers to return from Thailand go through Myawaddy, which is the second biggest among Myanmar's 15 border trade posts. The Insein region and Mon State also see travelers crossing the borders. Gayan State Chief Minister Don Nakin Twimian said the first batch of the returnees was done in a rush, but the second batch is done through enough time and proper system.
In the first batch, more than 70,000 to 80,000 workers officially returned to Myanmar via the number 2 Friendship Bridge. Of the returnees, 14,000 are from Kayin State, and the rest from Bago, Mon, and Makwe, totaling more than 50,000. Since the first batch entry coincided with Dinjan, about 3,000 returnees got stuck, and Mon state government took care of 1,000, putting them into facility quarantine, and the remaining 2,000 are taken care of by the Kayin state. On 28 and 29 April, all of them returned to their native places. Among them, those in Kayin State were tested negative, and Mon State saw one positive case, which is now tested negative. So for that first batch, we had to do it in a hurry, but it was a success. For the second batch, we have made a lot of preparations. We have got 2 weeks to prepare. So according to the list for the second batch, 25,748 workers are from Bago, Magwe, Mon, and Mandalay. So for this time, we have arranged more counters so that returnees don't need to cram.
Pa'an is prioritized for the preparation plan as Myawaddy and Pa'an are better connected now. In Myawaddy, there are a small number of rooms for the patients. However, there are equipment and facilities such as ventilators and statisticians. State Councilor urged the returnees to come back whether they went to work in Thailand officially or not, since the government prioritizes the workers' safety. The Nindai region's Chief Minister Myanmar said.
In the first batch, there are over 6,200 returnees and more than 1,000 locals are under medical observation. So they are put into facility quarantine and initially they were kept under home quarantine. But some people go out during home quarantine and so we put together all of them and are put into facility quarantine. We have learned that about 1,080 people from Tanai are coming home through Myawaddy, so we are planning to pick them up in Myawaddy.
This is Agajo reporting for Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on how government to beef up measures and plans to prevent nationwide spreads through workers' return. The Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population released an announcement including the list of businesses and services that are allowed to resume operation after being checked by the official inspection teams. Although some industries have already continued operation, some are facing difficulties to operate again, especially hotel industry. Despite being included in the list, it's not yet ready to start operation at present.
To contain the spread of COVID-19, the precautionary measures are still in effect till 15 May, and the Ministry of Health and Sports issued directives and guidelines for factories and businesses to open in the course of the spread of the virus. After the holidays of Dinjan on 19 April, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population already announced that factories and businesses can resume operation only after being checked by the inspection teams led by the Ministry of Health and Sports, including experts. For further processes, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population released a new announcement on 3rd May stating about 21 businesses and services which can reoperate with the approval of inspection teams because of being categorized as essential for the public during the pandemic. State-owned factories, workshops, and businesses, water distribution, electricity and fuel production and distribution, firefighting services, private hospitals, clinics, and health services, and communication, information, and technological services are assumed as essential businesses. Transportation warehouses and wholesale centers, ports, cargo transportation and logistics, import, export, and trade services, municipal development services, banking and financial services, insurance companies and companies without goods production, job agencies, information services, toll gates, road and bridge toll collection services, and hotels, motels, and accommodation services can remain open since they are the public services. Printing and publishing services, mineral and natural resources services, chemical-based services, construction services, and fish and prawn breeding, catching and freezing services can continue operation being accounted as essential public services. Through a phone interview, U Kin-han, chairman of Bayyana Wholesale Market, talked about the current situation of wholesale centers in Bayyana Market.
We have closed the market during the Insein holidays but started resuming operations since 20 April after the holidays. The wholesale centers in the market are keeping up the trade with the consumers through brokers. The staffs are divided into two groups to work on the duty shifts. More freight trucks are entering during these days. Usually there are 1,000 trucks carrying the goods, but now we have about 700 trucks recently. The number is higher than that of the previous period of the virus crisis. At first, we have left only 2 gates opened, and now because of the increasing number of trucks, we are to open 3 more gates, and gradually we will open all gates. For ensuring the health safety of the workers here, we check their temperature, instruct them to wash hands and wear masks.
Hotel industry, which is the most affected since the early stage of the crisis, is facing continuous losses because it has to continue maintenance work without income. There are costs of the expenses for maintenance and staff fees, but there is almost zero number of guests from home and abroad. Although the ministry allows hotels to reoperate, Unang, chairman of Union of Myanmar Travel Association, said the hotel industry is not yet ready to resume operation.
I suggest that hotel industry is not yet ready to resume operation. There are 2 types of guests for hotel industry, local and international guests. The hotels have to place much reliance on the arrival of the international guests, and number of international travelers is coming down to nearly zero. For other hotels which depend on the local guests, there are no more local guests coming to the hotels because of the travel restrictions between the cities of Myanmar and because of the situation of being put into quarantine when traveling from one place to other. If local travel restrictions and semi-lockdown in some areas are eased because of the stable situation of virus spread, we will gradually receive the local guests first. But now it is impossible to resume operation yet.
All these 21 businesses and services are able to continue to open by observing the Ministry of Health and Sports directives on COVID-19 protections and containment processes. It is also mentioned in the announcement that evidence of having proper health safety guidelines should be prepared for the inspection teams. That's all for now. This is Dora Suizin from MI Radio.
That's the report on the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population announced 21 businesses that can resume operation in line with health directives. Moving on to the third report. The Ministry of Health and Sports received a donation of masks, PPEs, and other several equipment by China Foundation for Peace and Development, where the equipment worth more than 5 million RMB was handed over. According to the statement from the Ministry of Health and Sports, these donated equipments are very much essential for the healthcare workers who are working in the front line of the fight against COVID-19. Willison will tell us the full report.
With the aim of helping the government in fighting against COVID-19 in Myanmar, China Foundation for Peace and Development donated several medical supplies to the Ministry of Health and Sports, and the ceremony of handing over donation was held on 5th of May at Department of Medical Research in Yangon. Those present on the occasion were Mr. Cheng Hai, the Chinese ambassador to Myanmar, Mr. Wang Desheng, director of the Office of China Foundation for Peace and Development in Myanmar, and Dr. Zhou Tun, Director General of the Ministry of Health and Sports. According to the statement released by donors, the donation included more than 1.5 million masks, PPEs, and several other related items, which are very much necessary for the respective departments in the fight against COVID-19. All the equipment donated to the Ministry of Health and Sports is estimated to be worth around 5.5 million RMB, according to the donors. The donation carries the slogan of Joint Action for Defeating COVID-19, through Silk Road Community Building Initiative, and it is also aiming to cooperate civil society organizations to carry out anti-pandemic cooperation, which will be implemented by China Foundation for Peace and Development. Speaking to the media at the donation ceremony, Mr. Shanghai, the Chinese ambassador to Myanmar, said,
包括民间组织在内的社会界别的捐助当中，是金额。
Today, the donation brought to us by China Foundation for Peace and Development has done one of the biggest donations ever carried out by any Chinese non-governmental organization. It shows China is willing to help the government of Myanmar and the people in this crisis. This China Foundation for Peace and Development has been donating in different parts of the world in the fight against COVID-19, but what the foundation has donated in Myanmar now is their biggest donation ever. On the other hand, it also means that this foundation is willing to help Myanmar in defeating COVID-19 in Myanmar. All this collaboration is also a part of Belt and Road initiatives, goals between the member countries where the social organizations come together as one in this kind of crisis. Giving priority to the health of the common people is also one of the top priorities in Belt and Road initiatives.
According to Mr. Wang Desheng, Director of Office in Myanmar of China Foundation for Peace and Development, as Myanmar and China share a long border, it also shares the common cause in this crisis of COVID-19. Therefore, China is very much willing to help Myanmar in defeating COVID-19 as it gives negative impacts on economy. Speaking to the media, he also said,
所以呢，这次我们呢响应这个中国民间组织国际交流促进会。
When the crisis of COVID-19 was heightened in China, Myanmar was helping China. The helping hand offered to us by Myanmar will not be forgotten so easily by the people of China. Now that we have seen many countries are reporting COVID-19 cases, China is ready to help those countries affected by COVID-19 as a return of their gratitude. The main aim of donating all these supplies is helping Myanmar in defeating COVID-19 soon. In the last 10 years, we have already donated the items worth around $10 million in Myanmar.
Speaking to the media, Dr. Zoltan Tun, Director General of Ministry of Health and Sports, also said,
ဒီ COVID တိုက်ဖျက်ရေးမှာရှေ့တန်းအနေတိုက်ပွဲဝင်နေကြတဲ့ဆရာတော်ကျန်းမာရေးဝန်ထမ်းတွေဒါအားလုံးကမရှိမဖြစ်လိုရတာပေါ့နော်ဒီဝတ်စားတွေဒီ
All the equipment which we received today includes masks, PPEs, and other production tools, which are very much essential for all the health workers who are working in the front line of containing COVID-19. As we all know, COVID-19 is a contagious disease. Therefore, in protecting from this virus, PPE is one of the most crucial tools. For example, if there are 10 healthcare workers who are treating one COVID-19 infected patients, we will have to put all those 10 workers into quarantine unless they wear PPE. We cannot afford to lose that much of human resources and find replacement. Therefore, the donation which we received will be helpful for us a lot.
This is Insein for MI Radio.
That's the report on MoHS receives medical supplies from China Foundation. Now moving on to international news. On the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe, China warned the world is now fighting another war, the COVID-19 pandemic, and called for solidarity against this common enemy. Ambassador Zhang Zhan, China's permanent representative to the United Nations on Friday, said, quote, "We oppose any attempts to politicize the pandemic and shrug off one's own responsibilities for political gains," end quote. Zhang said China has provided medical supplies to over 150 countries and international organizations, and vowed continued assistance to foreign countries in the fight against COVID-19. The Trump administration is no stranger to controversy. It has been criticized for its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, a rocky rollout of stimulus payments to Americans, and the multi-trillion-dollar bailout of small businesses. Most recently, it has lobbed claims that goes against its own domestic and other international intelligence and scientific agencies. specifically that the coronavirus itself was man-made or altered in a Chinese lab. Take a look.
Look, I am greeted with a hostile press, the likes of which no president has ever seen. The closest would be that gentleman right up there. They always said Lincoln. Nobody got treated worse than Lincoln. I believe I am treated worse.
Do you believe it was man-made or genetically modified?
Look, the best experts so far seem to think it was man-made. I have no reason to disbelieve that at this point.
Your Office of the DNI says the consensus, the scientific consensus, was not man-made or genetically modified.
That's right. I agree with that. Yeah, I've seen their analysis. I've seen the summary that you saw that was released publicly. I have no reason to doubt that that is accurate at this point.
Okay, so just to be clear, you do not think it was man-made or genetically modified?
I've seen what the Intelligence Committee has said. I have no reason to believe that they've got it wrong.
Well, I actually did have one, no. I put a mask on, yeah. I had a mask on for a period of time. We didn't see you with a mask. Well, I can't help it if you didn't see me. I mean, I had a mask on, but I didn't need it.
Right here in Phoenix, Arizona, you're reclaiming the noble heritage and writing the next chapter of this incredible American story. Moments ago, we saw the brand new production lines where you're making high-quality N95 respirators, and they are made to perfection. More than 150 Honeywell employees are working around the clock, 3 shifts a day, 6 days a week. Respirators are there to protect our heroic doctors and nurses as they fight the unseen enemy. With your help, we will vanquish the virus and build a future of greatness and glory with American heart, American hands, American pride, and American soul. And I said it before and I'll say it again, the people of our country are warriors.
So I think that as far as the task force, Mike Pence and the task force have done a great job, but we're now looking at a little bit of a different form, and that form is safety and opening, and we'll have a different group probably set up for that. I thought we could wind it down sooner, but I had no idea how popular the task force is until actually yesterday. When I started talking about winding it down, I'd get respected people saying, I think it would be better to keep it going. It's done such a good job. I really believe you can go to parks, you can go to beaches, you keep it, you keep the spread, you stay away a certain amount. And I really think the public has been incredible with that's one of the reasons we're successful. That's one of if you call losing 80 or 90,000 people successful, but it's one of the reasons that we're not at that high end of the plane as opposed to the low end of the plane.
That number has changed, Mr. President. You said
it's going up.
60,
now it's going up. I used to say 65,000, and now I'm saying 80 or 90, and it goes up, and it goes up rapidly.
The third batch of anti-epidemic supplies from China has arrived in Algiers. They were carried by 2 military planes of the Algerian Air Force, together with donations by the Algerian embassy and the Algerian people in China. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence press secretary, the wife of one of President Donald Trump's senior advisors, has tested positive for the coronavirus, raising alarm about the virus' potential spread within the White House innermost circle. The diagnosis of Katie Miller, who is married to White House immigration advisor and speechwriter Stephen Miller, was revealed by Trump in a meeting with Republican lawmakers on Friday, a day after news that Trump's personal valet had tested positive for the virus. The White House has also instituted daily as opposed to weekly coronavirus tests of Trump and Pence. Both men tested negative for the virus and were feeling well after the valet, a military service member who works as a White House assistant, came down with the virus. Also, the coronavirus pandemic triggered the steepest monthly loss of U.S. jobs since the Great Depression, the Labor Department reported on Friday. The unemployment rose to 14.7 last month, up from 3.5 in February, and demonstrating the speed with which the economy collapsed after stay-at-home orders meant to curb the outbreak were imposed across most of the country. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said the unemployment rate was likely to climb to around 20% this month. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. Tune in every Saturday on MITV at 8:30 p.m. for Myanmar Today Review. Until next time.